the Beaufort County Stormwater Utility Management Board on this June 19th, 2024. First order of business is the approval of today's agenda. Do I have a motion to approve today's agenda?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor? Passes. Next is the approval of the minutes of the last meeting on April 16th, 2024. You should have in front of you or in your packets. Is there any additions or corrections? If there being none, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? The minutes of April 16th are approved. The next item is introductions. I guess we will start all the way in the back of the room. Would you please stand and identify yourself?
Which back? Back right or back?
Back right, gentleman with a mustache and salt and pepper hair and a blue shirt. Yes, sir.
I'm Russell Martin,
Thank you.
in Modesto Beach, this is the Aljoy area.
Thank you.
I'm John Trimmer from Thomas Lawton Drive down off of Aljoy, and I'm proud to be here.
We're proud to have you.
Chris Stone, the Three Flounder down Aljoy.
How are you doing?
Go right across the aisle.
Oh, okay.
Ty Daddy, USCB, North Valley Lab.
Young lady.
Valentina Palacio, Beaufort County.
Brandon Harriet, Beaver County. John White, Pine Island.
Colin Stouty, Oyster Street, Bluffton, South Carolina. And I know you are Mark Lawson.
Laura Wilson, Aljoy.
Bob Williams, Aljoy.
Bill Boniford, Aljoy.
Jan Boniford, Aljoy.
Jim Lawton, Aljoy.
Crystal Miller, Wolberg Consultant for the county.
Mark Johnson, Beaufort County.
Taylor Brewer, Beaufort County Public Works.
Daphne Butler, Public Works.
Kate Herrera, Public Works.
Tammy Doe, Public Works.
Paula Brown, County Council District 8.
Alice Howard, County Council, District 4.
Young lady.
Kathy Coburn,
Thank you.
Bluffton, South Carolina.
Steve Andrews, the Sheldon District for the Stormwater Utility Board.
Ron Buchanan, St. Helena and Islands East.
Ed Warner, Hilton Head.
Patrick Mitchell, representing Ladies Island.
Mark Feinberg, representing District 9 and Defusky Island.
Dennis Ross, at large.
James Clark, represent unincorporated Port Royal.
Thank you all for coming today, especially our members here. The next thing on the agenda is public comment. Before we move into public comment, I do want to remind people of two things. Can you hear me? I don't know if that's loud enough. Okay, great. First of all, we're going to maintain the 3-minute time limit per speaker, because I know there's a lot of people here from the Aljoy area and Pine Island, and to give everyone a chance to speak, we'd ask you to keep it within 3 minutes. The second thing is public comment should be kept civil. We've had some cases in the previous meetings where the discourse about personal people and behavior was less than satisfactory. So if someone speaks out of line, I will ask you to cease speaking and take your seat. So with that said, is there any public comment at this time? Sir, come to the podium.
Hello, my name is Jim Lawton. I live on Oyster Street in Aljoy.
And I am somewhat with Preserve and Protect, but there's all sorts of great community organizations in Aljoy, and we all have the same point of view, I believe. First of all, that we're waiting for some services and to understand whether we can ask of those services of the county, of such as maintaining drainage ditches, which I believe is your purview. We have experienced the county coming out and visiting us, but it's almost always incomplete. If you have a 50-foot ditch and the county or the state comes and cleans out half of it, you still have a clogged ditch. And that is the case throughout the southern part of the county, and in particular my neighborhood of Aljoy. And we ask, if you do commit services to southern Beaufort County, that you do it in a full swing. That if you start on a job, finish the job. We have a half a job done on Oyster Street in particular, but this is the case, throughout our neighborhood. And it would be so much better if the county could complete projects so we don't have to nag you to come back out and finish the job. Now, I have been led to understand that there are limited amount of equipment and manpower, and I'm, completely cognizant of that. But when it comes to stormwater management and preparing for the hurricane season, we really don't have a lot of options but to rely on you. We try to clean up in the greenways and be good citizens and be patient. But we need your help. And I would lastly like to request that you hold meetings, every other meeting in southern Beaufort County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other public comment at this time? Colin?
Yeah, my name's Colin Stouty.
I must say, your most recent article on fishing was eloquent.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I feel like it's Groundhog Day because I've been and talked to y'all before about the same thing that Jim was talking about. But a perfect example is they brought in some equipment to, hopefully I thought, to start doing the ditch across from my house, which goes all the way to the May River. But I guess within a day it broke down. It sat there for 3 weeks, across the street before they came, and I guess it was a battery or something. It was something really easy because they got a guy, started it right up, loaded it onto the truck and drove off and never finished the job. Meanwhile, tearing up all the green space. I know it's not Beaufort County's fault, but that ditch, a deceased neighbor of ours, Stiles Harper, which maybe a lot of y'all have heard of. Anyway, he planted bamboo on his property, which is across the ditch, for a good portion of the thing. And as you know, bamboo, once it gets going, it is hard to stop. And this is big bamboo. It's really tall, and it's fallen into the ditch, and it's hopped across the ditch into the green space. And I don't know how to deal with that unless the property owners that own it, or have to cut it back some. But that ditch is no way in hell that it can take the water runoff, because actually it's Stiles' driveway. The outflow pipe that he has going under his driveway is too high, and the water can never reach that. I've had alligators in the ditch. I've in the last month, I've pulled 3 big snapping turtles, one right in my yard. I mean, it was a big one. And you know, so it's, in the mosquito situation, is horrendous. I mean, I can't go out early in the morning or late in the afternoon without just getting eaten alive. Thankfully, I have made it a relationship with the guy that handles the mosquitoes for Beaufort County, and he knows me very well. But I just think that it's time. We've waited long enough. We were told that it was going to get done, and I'm just hoping that you guys have the power. Let's get it done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Williams?
My name's Bob Williams from the Eljoy area. I'm just going to follow up on Jim and Doty had to say, and concerning the water runoff and how they conditioned the ditches. Several months back, they came and cleaned out the upper part of the Eljoy ditches, but the most important ones are the ones that drain into the marsh, and they were never cleaned. Yeah. We were fortunate enough to have Beaufort Jasper come down and test that water, and I was shocked. They had high levels of E. coli, and of course, I knew they'd have fetal matter in them. And that should shock everybody that lives in the Eljoy area, as well as Beaufort County. So if we could get that, just that end of the job done, it would relieve that part. Because when it does rain, that water flows down and it impacts all the septic tanks and leach fields that are there now. And all that does is overflow and goes into the May River. So it's a terrible thing. So thank you.
Any other public comment at this time? There will be an opportunity for more public comment at the end of the meeting.
I'm John Trimmer from Thomas Lutton Drive. I have kind of present a couple pictures. I have 4 different pictures I could, if I could separate their number at the top there. There's 4 of them, so if I could take one and pass it down. Or if you pass it to the other, everyone can share it. And picture number 1 is Blackfish Street, which parallels Thomas Lawton Drive, which is a state road. And like Mr. Lawton and Mr. Williams said that, you know, they came down to do this project. And if they say it's half done, I'd be really surprised. The lower part where Mr. Williams just pointed out, that water comes up, you know, there's probably 8 or 10 foot difference in elevation to Shad Street, down to Thomas Lawton. And that water comes down and it just inundates the whole lower part. The picture that I have there is Blackfish, and it cost me $1,300 to dig out the ditch behind my house. I've had severe problems with my septic problem. My toilet, I hadn't flushed for a long time. And what the pictures show is the neighbor, and over the years, the ditch is filled in because back when they came through and did the paving of all the streets down there and did all the drainage, for some reason, they didn't pave Blackfish Street, and they said they made it a private public road. So they quit any type of maintenance on that. And when they came down, I'm trying to go fast because of the clock. They came down to do this stuff. One of the superintendents came down and looked at my back road. He goes, "Oh, this is bad. We're going to have to get down here." Superintendent came down and said, "This is a private road. We can't touch it." The neighbor has taken, and you can see on the first picture, there's an arrow at the beginning of where I dug out, and the second arrow shows where a ditch where she filled in because they don't have parking. They filled in the ditch so they'd have parking because they put landscape in front of their house, so they don't have a place to park. And then picture, and you can see picture 2 where they filled it in for their parking. Picture 3 is at the end of where Blackfish comes to the next street over, and there's a culvert there. If that ditch was to be dug out, then it would take the problem out of all of our houses. And there's a gentleman back here that the neighbor wants to take and put a pipe in there and fill it back in. And if he has a pipe, then it's going to eliminate any type of problem that you have because it's not going to have anywhere to drain into the pipe because the guy wants it for his parking. And the 4th picture shows the ditch in front of our houses, which were not dug out. and they haven't been dug out for 6 or 8 years. When the state comes down there, they only dig out one side of the street, not this side of the street for some reason. And the last junction they came down to blow out the ditches or pipes that are down there, they only did half of the ones on the street. So there's a lot of work that's not even been half completed. We need help down there. Thank you.
Yeah, I think so.
Did you want to make?
Yeah, Bradley, can I ask you a question? And this was something that I had, we'd had a meeting, a couple of, I think it was the meeting or the meeting before last, and we were talking about how you guys go about assigning jobs in different areas, and you said, there's just pretty much a whiteboard down in the Public Works office. And I recommended or suggested or asked if there was a possibility of us having some type of viewable program online, just a common spreadsheet or something along those lines with perhaps, notes down at the bottom if, we can't do this during high tide or we can or can't. Have we made any progress on making that available to view? Because this obviously is, it's a common thread of the folks in Alljoy, and there's a couple other neighborhoods out there that consistently come here asking questions about their ditches and when they're going to be drained out, and they can't get any answers from anybody.
One other thing on the Blackfish Street, when they paved all those roads, they didn't pave back Blackfish. And why did they make it a private road? And how do I find out what access I have to the road? Can I fence in what's behind my house? Because it's private county road now, or?
If you provide your address, we can get that information to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Those roads is a separate group, and so they would have to be the ones to speak on that.
Okay.
So, thank you.
But we will get you an answer as to why it was deemed public and not private.
It's private. Private county road now. So,
It's either a private road or a county road.
when was it made private, and why as homeowners?
You can just get your address, we can look at it and search that information.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, Mr. Ross. So yeah, we're currently working on something. We're kind of waiting until our new fiscal year kicks in before we can get a whole lot going. So we are currently working on some type of software, Public's work-wide, county-wide, to be able to implement those types of things. And I will encourage everybody. I know everybody, BC Connects is that's our reminders. BC Connects is that's what we use to, I will say, almost prioritize work. So if we get somebody sends a picture in, they're completely flooded, we get that on the schedule. It's, like I said, if you look at our whiteboard, that's how our crews come in. They can see what's on the whiteboard, see what's scheduled. That's what they do. But we use our BC Connects to prioritize things right now. And it just depends on the severity of the job and project.
I got you. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, sir.
Any others?
Yes, ma'am.
I was raising my hand. There is a little bit of a bug on the BC Connect. You have to actually do it 2 to 3 times to get it to go through and to have it to come through. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Laura Wilson. I'm from Alljoy. I'm a little under the weather, so maybe I won't be so passionate and exuberant. I wanted to, I reside in Alljoy, and I'm with a group called Preserve and Protect Alljoy. 8 months ago, Chairman Feinberg toured the Alljoy area and noted the clogged ditches, lack of stormwater maintenance, and presented his findings along with photos of Alljoy to the Stormwater Board and those in attendance. A group of Alljoy residents came to the December 2023 Stormwater meeting and let the board know of the drainage, flooding issues, and failing septics, issues they've struggled with for years. Again, we thank the Stormwater Board for shedding additional light on Alljoy's drainage plight. Since that time, some work began on the ditches in the Alljoy area. We explicitly expressed to the Public Works Director the importance of removing the contents in the ditches, the need for them to be vacuumed out so they would not enter the magnificent May River. The contents in question are E. coli and fecal coliform, yes, sewage. First and foremost, the utmost importance to everyone is to protect the May River. No one wants their septic systems or what is seeping into the ditches to harm our waterways. With the rising tides, heavier rainfall events, and years of inconsistent ditch maintenance, we are far from being prepared for a threatening hurricane season, and drain fields are failing. In addition to asking for help with a comprehensive stormwater study to enable a drainage project to be implemented for Alljoy like Shell Point, we are also advocating for affordable sewer for Alljoy. The best time for Alljoy to tie into sewer was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. From one group, the Alljoy residents have heard no can do, can't do, and get pushed back when having a can-do attitude goes much farther. The Alljoy community was glad to learn that the South Carolina RIA was awarded Beaufort County $187,500 for the stormwater for an H&H stormwater planning study, a positive. With another group, Alljoy residents met, shared the community's issues with failing septic and their concerns of protecting the May River. Their response from that first meeting: we understand you have a problem. Let's work together to find a solution. It's all about partnerships. We thank the Stormwater Utility Board for your continued assistance. Please help us to provide a public stormwater meeting in the Alljoy area for residents to be provided updates and know moving forward the plan of action. And please encourage the county and our district rep to assist us, and let's all work together to protect the May River. Thank you all very much. Any questions? Thank you.
I'm going to go a little bit out of the typical order of our agenda and make two statements. One is Mrs. Wilson did state, and it is a fact, that we have received the monies to do a comprehensive study for Alljoy. I think it's important to note that that is going to happen in this fiscal year. Okay? The reason we need a comprehensive study is so one street doesn't get all the maintenance and have the adjacent streets have problems. We need a holistic approach to the entire Alljoy area, as opposed to, in the past and even currently, trying to fix it by putting a Band-Aid on one wound and having another one show up in the next storm or the next heavy rainfall. So we need a comprehensive plan so the people who work in the utility and in public works will have a roadmap to hopefully fix Alljoy's problems once and for all. Secondarily, we have been in touch with, and our council people, Ms. Paula Brown, Mr. Lawson, with the Beaufort County, Beaufort Jasper Water Company. And they are willing to make themselves available when we have, and we will have, a public meeting, and I'll let the county representatives announce that, but we will have upcoming a meeting for Alljoy residents, so you can, again, voice your needs and necessities. And we now are on the radar of the Water and Sewer Department. So hopefully we can get some resolution in the next fiscal year, right, to the stormwater issues and the drain field issues to protect the May River. With that said, I'm going to go back to our agenda, and we have a special presentation today. Katie, is that true?
It's totally true.
Okay, by Crystal Mueller.
Okay, there should be slides. Oh, good. Okay. Hi, I'm Crystal Mueller. I did not just have a big lunch. I am pregnant, so I apologize if I seem to get out of breath faster than usual.
We're gonna get you the clicker.
Oh, yeah, please.
And a chair, maybe.
Oh, no, I'm good. This is, we're talking about the stormwater utility fee, so I would not present on this for half an hour. I wouldn't do that to y'all. But we are here to talk about the utility fee and our desire to update how the fee is calculated. You guys know we have a stormwater utility fee. It's critical to funding how the stormwater department manages their operations and doing the projects that need to be done around the county. So kind of just going back, again, I'm going to make this a pretty high-level presentation talking about our overarching goals of what we're looking to do. This current rate was established back in 2015. The county set the rate, or kind of developed how it was going to be calculated. Along came the city of Beaufort, the town of Fort Royal. Different people kind of came along until 2019 when everybody was under the same system. So the county calculates how the fees are determined, what the fee is for each parcel, and for all of these different municipalities. So how is this fee calculated right now? You know, stormwater is an interesting beast to determine. You have water, and you figure out how much water each building uses, right? You have sewer, what's the sewer rate? Stormwater is a little different. You know, you have your impervious area, which is typically how stormwater is calculated. That, you know, the impervious area causes runoff, and then you have the pervious area that actually soaks in the rainwater. But then you have the downstream areas. You have the culverts under the roads that everybody drives on. So you have to figure out a fair way to calculate a fee per parcel that can be used across the whole county for stormwater infrastructure that everybody uses. So that's kind of how we try to develop this. So right now, you kind of have an 80-20 split. So you have it based on the impervious area of each parcel. And when we're talking about parcels, we're talking about residential, which is set in one of 3 tiers. Then we're talking about non-residential, which is commercial, industrial, all of that. And that is based on the impervious area and the equivalent residential unit. So that's kind of overarching how everybody more or less does it. It's based on the impervious area. If you go on the Beaufort County y'all's website, you can see how these fees are calculated. So impervious area is the first thing. Then you also have the gross area. So what is the area of the parcel itself? Then you also have an administrative fee added onto it. You have a stormwater service fee. Then you also have where the parcel is, different fees for different municipalities. Anybody confused yet? Okay, cool, good. Well, that's kind of part of what we want to talk about today. It is a little confusing. It's when you're a resident and you're trying to understand and you don't have a mathematics degree, it can be a little overwhelming to look at all these numbers on the website. So, and you know, it's very labor intensive every year to develop these. So I've got a picture here. You know, here's a homeowner who has, presumably they own 2 parcels. So they have a house on one parcel, they have a shed on the other. How do we handle that? Do we build them once? Do we build them twice? A lot of these little idiosyncrasies have to be figured out. It seems simple at the surface, but when you kind of dig in, you know, another thing is recently the county has undergone a huge effort to adopt the Soloco manual, which does great things for the county, does a lot for stormwater. Some of the features of your current stormwater fee kind of go against the goals of your Soloco manual, which is more concentrated development, a lot more green space. And a big thing that we really wanted to focus on is that it is labor intensive every single year to figure out how these fees are calculated. And so you have to balance how much more are you taking in each year from this additional impervious area or however the fees are being determined based on what's the amount of effort it takes to actually develop these fees. So all of these things we need to take into consideration. So is there a simpler way to do it now that I have everybody thoroughly confused? Like I said, water, sewer, that's pretty easy. You can make stormwater easy. You can talk about how much money do you need and how much impervious area is there in the county. Figure out that magic number. Simple, right? Well, it is on the surface, but it can be that simple. And our goal is to make what the residents see, what the person trying to figure out how their stormwater fee was calculated, we want to make it that easy for them. There's going to be back calculations that need to be done for administrative fees, for how the fees are split apart in different municipalities. But up front, we want it to be easy, we want it to be understandable. So how do we do that? We simplify it. We want everybody to be able to go on the website and each resident more money. That's not what we want to do. We want to make it easier to calculate. We want to find ways to increase revenue if we can, and we want to make sure that each year when tax bills go out, it's a little easier to calculate these fees, takes less time, less county resources for the same outcome. Make your life easier, right, Katie? That's our overall goal. So just really quickly, I want to talk about how fees are typically calculated. I've talked about that. Pretty much everybody uses equivalent residential units. And this is the most complicated calculation that we really kind of want to come up with for these, is you figure out the average home size in Beaufort County and the related municipalities, and you figure out, you can tier that, but you can figure out the average impervious area and say that's 2,000 square feet. Then you use that very simple number to figure out what to charge Walmart. So say Walmart is 20,000 square feet of impervious. And so if your base unit's 2,000, Walmart's 20,000, then you have 10 equivalent residential units. So you take that base rate, you multiply it by 10. That is way easier than trying to figure out all these different fees on the surface. Again, simplify it. That's our whole goal.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Does everybody in the country or the majority of municipalities in the country use this formula?
Yes, and I will show you what everybody else in the state does, because that's a really important consideration when you're talking about changing up things, right? There is a different method where you can use actual impervious area. My house has 1,500 square feet of impervious. My neighbor has 1,800. We're getting different rates. You can certainly do that. It's much more labor intensive. Maybe 10 years from now, the technology is going to make it easy. Right now, that doesn't tend to be the way things go, especially down here where our trees don't drop leaves. So trying to get our technology and our LiDAR to collect all the impervious gets a little dicey in some of these areas. But it definitely makes it more fair. So that's kind of the base of how most people do it, and kind of a very simple way to calculate these fees on the front end. There are, of course, ways to do rate adjustments. Say my neighbor puts in this giant pool and has this giant patio, and I'm doing my best to do natural landscaping, and I've got 3 rain gardens, and I want my stormwater fee to be adjusted to reflect that. There's ways that we can incorporate that. Part of this effort that we want to do is investigate those potential ways and figure out if it's going to be beneficial or not for the county to offer these potential adjustments. Same thing for the Walmarts. You know, if there's a Walmart built 40 years ago that has no stormwater controls versus a Walmart built today that's got an oversized detention pond, should those be treated differently? Well, that new Walmart can definitely apply for a rate adjustment if that's something that the county decides to pursue. Conversations that still need to be had, but definitely opportunities there. So we've talked about, you know, one thing I said is we don't want individual residents to see increases. So how do you get increases in revenue? Everybody knows that every single department is underfunded. There's way more work that needs to be done than any kind of fee could ever cover. Thank you, grants. But you know, one thing we can do is we can find more impervious area. So you know, what we have found by doing these utility rates, we've done these for a lot of municipalities, is, you know, while Sally may not like her rate going up, Dollar General doesn't care. If you increase Dollar General's stormwater fee every year, they just write a check, you know? Not that we want to punish the non-residential, but that's just the reality. If you think about it, these non-residential places cause more concerns for stormwater. They have more runoff, they have higher pollutant loads in their runoff, so they should be billed more, and maybe not at the same rate of just the residential impervious. Again, everything that just needs to be considered in how these fees are calculated, keeping it simple, but also making it fair. Okay, what does everybody else do? So this is just the state. Obviously, you guys are down there in yellow. Yours is the most complex in the state, I will tell you that. You know, Horry County does use gross area as well as impervious area, so they're closer to y'all, but not quite as complex. Then you have kind of your Richland County, your Greenville County that do the ERU, which is just impervious, but then you also have credits, like I was talking about. You know, I have a rain garden, Walmart has a good detention pond. We're gonna blame that on baby brain, sorry. So, you know, there's definitely different communities that offer different credits, offer different methodologies. And then those light green is just straight ERU. Residential gets charged one fee, non-residential gets charged based on the equivalent residential unit. So, what am I asking for? I'm asking for you guys to support us revamping how these fees are calculated. We want it to be easy to understand. Could you guys calculate your stormwater fees based on what I showed? It gets a little confusing. We want it to be fair and we want it to be equitable. We want people to understand where these numbers are coming from and where the money's going. We want it to be fair across everybody. And then, anytime you're charging a fee, it needs to be defensible. You need to be able to show why you're charging different parcels different amounts. Be very clear about that. That's just how, that's very important when you're doing things like this.
You have a question in the audience.
I understand what you're saying, but if you keep referring to Walmart and how much impervious
Sure.
surface they have, I think there ought to be a limit, as to, once it goes past this limit of impervious surface, they are charged an extra fee, because that, that much impervious surface is not good for our waterways,
Right.
it's not good for anything.
Right.
And with so many new developments going up, and I start seeing them just clear cut the land, God knows, but, and those kind of people, I think y'all need to try to talk to them
This is gonna
about,
be my question.
alternatives to impervious, I use limestone for my driveway, which
Right.
is pervious, and, but when if they exceed a certain amount of impervious surface, then they should, and that should be upfront even when they're developing, that if there's gonna be a extra fee handed to them, and that might allow them to rethink their what the surface area is around their retail business.
Okay, okay. So, yeah, this is a fee, so this is after development. So, yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying, but, yeah, this is, during development is definitely a totally different beast.
Well, but, Walmart can definitely afford, pay
Sure.
a little bit more for as much, I know where the retention pond is.
Right.
I understand that, but, still, the more, the developers or whatever, especially ones that are not in this area that come in, they realize upfront, if you go past this point, then it's gonna be a significant increase in what you're doing.
Okay, yeah, definitely. No, I hear that.
It's just an idea.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, the questions are for y'all.
Anything from,
All right, now, okay.
sorry, trying to keep this on schedule.
I won't talk.
Go ahead.
I have probably a stupid question, okay? Let's just say for grants, either the county or the state decides that they want to expand or widen public roadways, like is feasible down on Hilton Head or other areas like that. That's obviously a larger impervious substance, going to cause more runoff in more areas, and I know stormwater is tied in that, and the county engineers are involved in that. When the county or the state decide that they want to do that, who gets charged for that?
So roadways fall under your NPDES permits. So DOT has an individual NPDES permit, the county has an NPDES permit, and all of the roadways fall under that. So stormwater has to be controlled through those permits.
Okay, and I understand that it's controlled, but is there an increase in fee? Because obviously, there's going to be more water runoff, so.
Right.
How does that?
So not on roadways. Right. So roadways are not charged fees.
Terrific. Okay.
So no roadways, even private roads within developments aren't charged?
Private roads would be, yep. So private roads are on private property and those are charged more, or they are charged for impervious area.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Very informative. Next on the agenda is our utility update by Ms. Herrera. Tight lines.
probably up here for the next 5 sections. So I'm bringing my water. So to start off for the utility update, we are coming up on the annual financial reports being needed to be provided from the municipalities. They are fortunate enough to have today off, as it is a federal holiday, but Beaufort County is still working for its citizens. So I know none of them are here for the reminder, but that will be something that Taylor will be sending out shortly to all of our municipal partners. The second line item is regarding the presentation you just saw. Again, staff have been working on this behind the scenes with the staff of the municipalities. And because we are all in IGA agreements to institute and implement that fee, this is something that all participating partners have to be in agreement with and on. So we've had the initial discussions about what the goals are for everyone who participates in implementing a stormwater utility fee. We certainly implement those fees on behalf of the municipalities through the Beaufort County tax bill. Each of the municipalities sets their own rates. Those have been provided to staff through in line item number 4 of the utility update. But again, this is something that we'll be working with hand in hand, each of the municipal partners, to talk about next steps moving forward. The great thing about Wolpert is that last year they ran the tax run on our behalf. I am very not confused by how our utility works, but I am probably the minority amongst staff. So that being said, they've been a great extension of our team, and because of them implementing this on our behalf last year, they are also intimately familiar on places where we can make improvements. They've experienced it just like we have, and so they're certainly the most qualified to be making recommendations moving forward on implementation. So just want to say thank you to Crystal for being here today and talking to y'all about that. Certainly if anyone in the room or you all have questions later on, we're always happy to answer those. What will happen, just for kind of implementation purposes, Wilbert's going to be doing all of the background information, pulling the best case scenarios from across the state, across the country, ways to improve. Again, my direction to Wolpert has been clear from the beginning that we do not want to increase rates on homeowners. So we do fine. There's no need. I know inflation is causing fees to go up everywhere else. That is not the intention with this rate structure. It is simply to be even more transparent and much easier to understand and implement. So I have asked that we are provided a menu of best options for not only my team, but the municipalities as well, to pick and choose what makes the most sense to become the comprehensive utility rate structure moving forward. So the tax run for tax year 2024 will still be under the old rate structure. This is going to take some time, but the idea is that this is complete prior to us finalizing budgets towards the end of November and December, so that we can move forward with a new rate structure and therefore budget structure moving forward early into next calendar year, January,
26.
February, for fiscal year 26, for tax year 25. Did you follow all of that?
Yes, because I was going to ask, we've already gone through the budget for 2025, so hopefully.
Yes, we have.
So hopefully we have enough money from our tax structure to fund that. And then we need to look in the future as to whatever your new calculations will be.
Yes. So the plan too, as Crystal mentioned, is to still have the county implement these. So there will still be an administrative cost to cover staff members having to run this on behalf of the municipalities, but it'll be a much lower cost. So
Is that part of their administrative fee that we charge them?
yes, yes. The third line item, we already talked about the June meeting, our tax run update. We have scheduled with the Port Royal Sound Foundation in October to come give a presentation to you all about the State of the Sound Research Symposium. We participated back in March. They were scheduled to come present in May, and in May. And as we changed our schedule to June, unfortunately, they could no longer participate because of prior engagements. So that will be in the fall. Certainly, if there are any other recommendations on special presentations or locations, we are open to that. We did recently complete a stormwater infrastructure project on St. Helena, implementing the county's first rubber check valve. And so I thought it would be kind of neat if we could all meet on site there to see it function and get a presentation from the firm that designed it. So,
Are you asking for us to consider which month, October or November?
it probably would not be October. Our next meeting is August 21st. I do believe it is still going to be wildly hot to be meeting outdoors.
That's why I'm asking, do we want to do it in October?
Well, since Miss Courtney will be here from the Sound Foundation, I would suggest either November or December.
Do I have a motion to move an off-site on November's meeting?
So made.
I think it would be the December meeting because of.
December?
Yeah.
Can we do it?
I don't mind doing the off-site presentation, but I still hearken back to the beginning of today's comments. I think it might be important for us to maintain flexibility with this for a couple of reasons. And I understand, we have folks from the Port Royal Foundation that want to come speak. But depending on whatever, Ms. Brown, Ms. Howard, and Mr. Lawson find out about what's going to happen with the Aljoy and Riverhead and their request to have a meeting south of the Broad, I think we would have to be flexible, and obviously it would depend on obviously Ms. Brown's and Mr. Lawson's schedule and when they can arrange it. So if it happens to fall during that time, then, we may have to push something out of the way. Hopefully that meeting will be sooner rather than later, but I don't know if we need to commit at this point to a meeting based on the flexibility of what I perceive as higher needs.
I think there's 2 points. One is having this meeting in place outside,
I understand
basically on site. The Aljoy meeting, and management can correct me if I'm wrong, would not be our normal scheduled meeting. That would be a special meeting for the community that would be run by council people and staff, not the utility board.
Well, maybe I was confused then, because I thought one of these folks out here, I'd have to go back and look, had asked for us to have one of our stormwater meetings south of the Broad, so these folks aren't always having to traipse up here. And that was why I brought that up. Maybe I'm confused on that.
I think you're both right.
Yeah,
Requesting
we
a
are both
meeting
right.
south of the Broad for the Stormwater Utility Board, but then also the special public meeting for Aljoy, that Aljoy watershed specifically. So, it certainly is not out of the realm of possibilities. I don't know, I cannot think of at this very moment a specific project site to showcase that, but we could always have it at a passive park. I could coordinate with the director there.
One of the things I would recommend is that I can communicate with the members of the Stormwater Utility Board what the potentials are and get feedback for the rest of the year's meetings as to where and what will be covered.
Yes, certainly that would
And
take.
And then once I get that information from you all, I can feed it back to Ms. Herrera as
Yeah.
to here's what our wish list is.
We can give you a multiple choice. Certainly, regardless of where the meeting occurs, north or south of the Broad, there is a lot of logistical planning as far as chairs, tents, electricity, and also broadcast. So it would be dependent on their schedules as well. But again, with enough notice, that's typically not a problem on their end. So, yeah. And Last item under the utility update is that all of FY25 budget concurrence letters from each of our municipalities has been provided, and that information has also been provided to County Council for implementation into next year's budget. So we appreciate all of our members' feedback and questions and working with us to get this taken care of in a timely manner. The next agenda, sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Since I'm up here. So we've got the monitoring update, and I know Dr. Petty's in the room. If you want to come up.
Please.
Thank you. Good
Afternoon,
afternoon.
Doctor.
Sorry for not submitting a report. I apologize. Not a whole lot to report. We finished first quarter for Beaufort County and have almost all the data to you all now, I believe, waiting on a little bit more analyses. Continue to collect or analyze samples for the town of Bluffton as usual. And, recently we posted a new position for lab manager. It was posted previously, didn't get a whole lot of attention, so we changed it up a little bit, and it just reposted this week. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, by the end of the summer, we'll have a new lab manager for the water quality lab. So, am I forgetting anything? Questions?
No, that's the update I wanted.
Good. All right.
Swick.
All right. So again, none of our municipal partners are here, but there has been a lot of back and forth discussion with members of the municipalities in talking about how the tax run gets implemented in future years and also how budget looks for them into next fiscal year. One thing that's not on the agenda but makes a lot of sense to kind of talk about here is not in the report. The Solo Go manual, we will be getting together on the 28th of June to discuss the comments we received from the development community on proposed changes within the manual itself. So kind of opened it up. We have a series of improvements we want to make to the manual. Those of us that are implementing, just for your a refresher, that's the town of Port Royal, the town of Bluffton, the city of Beaufort, and Beaufort County. So we'll all be meeting on the 28th to discuss all of the comments and feedback we received from the engineering community as well as the public. It was publicly noticed by our communications team here at the county. And then the plan after that is to have a series of comments back to everything that was received, and then to have a working group to discuss all comments in general prior to creating a red line version for y'all to approve any manual updates on. So we're trying to be even more inclusive as we move forward. Again, this is a manual that we created, but they use, and so it makes a lot of sense if there are places where you can make improvements on that they're part of that conversation. So that meeting is scheduled with the engineering group towards the end of July, and we do have the town of Hilton Head participating in this meeting, which is encouraging because they have not been a part of the technical subcommittee thus far. So we are moving forward as a group, and they do certainly have a lot of positive feedback to provide. So
I have a question. I know our ex officio members aren't here, but Dr. Petty mentioned that they analyze samples for Bluffton, water quality samples for the city of Bluffton or town of Bluffton. Do the other municipalities sample? Do they test?
Yes. The town of Hilton Head tests on their own through a lab out of Charleston.
Okay.
And the other municipalities north of the Broad, so City of Beaufort and the town of Port Royal, they are covered under our IGA to do water quality sampling. So we sample.
So our samples are really for them. Well,
it's for everybody
joint.
north of the Broad.
Joint.
Yes. So in the management memo that Taylor sends out, it's calculated the cost shares, and they're included in the fees that are assessed to each of those municipalities. So all 5 of us participate in the education agreement, but only 3 of us are in the water quality monitoring agreement. So,
Are we trying to move to consolidate all 5? Wouldn't it be a,
not necessarily. I mean, the town's happy with how their sampling is going, the town of Hilton Head. The town of Bluffton, again, uses Ty's lab just like we do. So it's working out how it needs to.
okay, just
Yeah.
why we wouldn't consolidate is beyond me.
I'm sorry?
It just makes sense, you have 3 out of the 5, why wouldn't you have 5 out of the 5 consolidated? Just, years ago, we talked about trying to encourage coordination when MS4 came into being. We talked about it as an entity saying that if we could, get everyone together, right, we may be able to, I hate to say this, reduce some of the overhead that it takes. And if you're sampling going to one lab who's, and then somebody else is using another lab, doesn't sound efficient to me. Just a comment.
They're certainly implementing what they see appropriate within their own jurisdictional boundaries. So, but in the event we ever do move to a regional stormwater authority, that would be something that would make a lot more sense. All right. For regional coordination, my first update. So, Old Woodlands, I know y'all had asked about this last time. The survey has been provided to our project manager, Mr. Mark Johnson, and so in FY25, that'll be a project that kicks off. Just to refresh your memory, there are some ditches that we have deeded back to the town of Hilton Head for maintenance, and there are others that need serious restructuring in order to get positive drainage through those areas. So that survey was instrumental in getting the legwork created for any future projects. So happy to report that is still on the radar, as it always has been, for implementation in FY25. And my thunder was stolen a little bit. Thank you, Ms. Wilson. But the county was successful in receiving a South Carolina Rural Infrastructure Authority grant for the tune of $187,500. Behind the scenes, the county had also applied for FEMA funding. That application was provided in February of 2022. You've heard this numerous times, I'm sure. The county was also successful in leveraging that funding as well. However, it has been decided that because the Rural Infrastructure Authority money is going to be provided much faster than what the FEMA money is going to be, we're going to go ahead and move forward with acquiring the approval from the interim county administrator to accept those funds on behalf of the county. This will result in a larger cost share from the stormwater utility. So the split here is 75% federal, state, 25% county. The match requirement for FEMA would have been just over 22,000. But again, given the timeline, we are trying to make this happen. We're moving forward with RIA funding. So we're very excited about that. That is on the agenda that they are currently discussing the next room over for approval at the Public Facilities Committee meeting on Monday. And then pending successful approval at that level, it will then be routed to County Council for the following meeting. So once we can accept that through a resolution, we will be moving forward with working with RIA staff. There is a meeting scheduled between county staff and RIA staff next Friday afternoon. Next Friday is going to be busy for us to discuss how this works moving forward. So
who decides which consultant to use?
That,
you or them?
That is something that has to go out to bid. So it is.
Do we bid that out, or do they?
Yes, the county does.
County.
So This is, the project timeline, I believe it wraps up in June of 2026. Certainly, we hope that it goes much faster than that, but because of the state procurement laws, not that we weren't gonna follow county procurement laws, but that is something that to pick an engineering firm would have to go out to bid. So, but more details and information will be passed down to staff, I'm sure, next Friday. So, it's important that the financial department and the procurement department all understand what we are embarking upon in this endeavor.
Because we have had so much attention brought to the stormwater utility from the All Joy situation, can you give the board an idea from the past timing? In other words, this is a study, this is not actual digging in the dirt. This is a study, a comprehensive study, when we could expect that to begin.
The study to begin?
Yeah, realistically.
Let's see, if we accept it, I'm just going through the calendar in my head. If it's accepted at county council sometime late June, it would have to go out to bid, posting. Realistically, we'd probably start early January, which is a good time to start because a lot of people don't want to be out in the miserable heat that is the low country of South Carolina during the summer. So it's great to get field work done in the winter. So
I'm looking at, for the citizens of All Joy that are sitting in the audience today and those that might look at this on video, we can say that this study hopefully may start sometime in early 2025.
the calendar year, yes.
Yes.
Yes, that would be the plan. So it is important to know that it is a drainage study. The study may conclude that there are things that are beyond the county's control in order to make improvements
Well, we just have to
upon.
wait and see what.
Right.
Let's
But
wait
just
and
to
see what the
say-
study says.
Exactly. Not everything is gonna be a one-size-fits-all. So, as we are learning, as we get further into the Shell Point effort.
Quick question, do we not, or y'all not have an open-ended IDIQ with somebody that can bypass the bid process?
I don't think that matters, because it was almost, one of the first emails we received from their staff is that this does have to go out to bid. Because there are state contracts you would think we could
Because of
piggyback
Where
on.
the money's coming from.
Yeah, I think, but I can certainly ask that question.
Was it, who did the Ladies Island one? My mind, I was.
Ladies Island was Wolford.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought it was, I was wondering, I mean, they're obviously doing a lot of work, and not negotiate with them to speed up the process. But
Yep.
if it depends on where I'm sure that has something to do with it, since it's,
And certainly our on-call is able to put in a bid, just like every other qualified engineering firm in the state. It's all open, so.
yeah, that's.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks. Good point.
Any questions on that? So I am gonna tell FEMA, thank you for your $227,000, but we'd politely decline because we are moving forward with state funding. So, but we are certainly appreciative of them working with us to bring both applications to the finish line. So.
Do we believe the $187,000 is enough for the
Yeah.
study?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If we did, the person in the room to blame is just behind me. Where did my other
Empty
sheet go?
space.
Huh?
Neil's no longer here.
I wasn't talking about Neil.
I know.
But I am gonna see him tomorrow, so that's exciting. So, for municipal reports, I typically open the floor to our lovely partners, and none of them are here.
They're on
So they're off today. I specifically received an email from the town of Hilton Head saying nothing to share. So I said I would share that information on their behalf. Any questions?
For the record, I'm going to reach out to our ex officio members because we've not had the participation that we would expect, so I'm going to reach out to those members.
Okay.
Good luck.
All right. My last section, pretty exciting stuff, actually, I think. Well, it's all relatively exciting, truthfully. So, as usual, we do continue to meet monthly at the staff level to talk about existing drainage easements, anything the county still needs to obtain, or our right-of-way manager is working towards on our behalf. One of the things that she is working on with a consultant is making sure that all of the existing recorded drainage easements were obtained appropriately and correctly, and those that we have incomplete records on, we are making sure those are plussed up. And moving forward, there's better records. A lot of things are old existing handshakes and agreements, and so we just need to get those things properly recorded into the county records. Yes, exactly. That used to work a while ago, but not anymore. So for Shell Point, this is another project that we have kind of in the works. We are hopeful to receive FEMA funding for this project as well. Right now, the Phase 1 application is selected for review. Similarly to Alljoy, we are hoping it follows the same trend in that it is selected and approved for funding. We did put in a senatorial earmark through Lindsey Graham's office in early May, and for FY25 funds to be allocated to the state. As you know, last year we were successful in leveraging congressional funds. However, they did not make it to the Senate side. So we're hopeful that that happens. Right now, out for bid, we have construction to restructure our drainage easements to make nice, clean work shelves moving forward for our staff to go in and maintain in perpetuity. A lot of these easements have not been deeded to the county, and so there are several acres worth of large trees and shrubbery that no one has touched. And so now that we are legally able to go in and enter these drainage easements, we want a nice clean slate moving forward. So that work is currently out for bid. The pre-bid meeting for that is scheduled for June 25th and should be closing very shortly after that. From there, we'll make sure our consultant is looped in, as well as our project manager, Mark Johnson, on pre-construction meetings, during construction meetings, and post-construction meetings. So once a organization has been selected to perform the work, that, depending on costs, we'll bring to you all for approval, but then we will also be scheduling a public meeting with the Shell Point community to talk about what this next set of work is going to look like. So, that is that. And again, one of the exciting things for us is getting that Sea Island Parkway project taken care of. This is the first inline stop valve in Beaufort County, and we certainly hope it won't be the last. The old method of keeping water from flowing back into your pipes were aluminum gates or steel gates, and these rubber ones seem to be much more effective and have a much longer life as far as maintenance is concerned. And so starting in FY25, places that have existing flap gates will be working through a replacement schedule to get them with this newer technology. Save by the phone. Just kidding.
Maybe it would be possible for us to see a video of those?
Sure, yeah.
Amazing. You know, Pictures of
Charlie
valves works.
is very passionate about his valves, and he would love
Well,
to talk to y'all
I
about
think
those
that would-
valves.
That would be, should put that on our radar.
Worst case, video from Charlie. Perfect. And then lastly, we have added this to new business, but there is an update on the Tuxedo Park project. So I'm gonna have Mark Johnson come up under new business just to present that to y'all for voting and approval, given the cost, so we can continue moving forward through the proper chain of command at the county level. And then lastly, for Arthur Horn Park, the Rachel Wilden, the NRCS director we have been working with out of the state of Texas, has been replaced by someone who actually lives in South Carolina, which is amazing, and hopefully we will have some continuity of staff at the state level. But right now, they are writing the scope of services to be provided to the federal on-call staff to begin the planning and design process for the project selected as part of the Battery Creek watershed improvements and retrofits. So that includes Arthur Horn Park, Southside Park potentially. I know they've already kind of started construction. There are other locations as well throughout the Huck 10 watershed that Battery Creek is located in, as well as an improved education component. Any questions?
I do have a couple. So one is the drainage easements are in place. You're gonna start clearing and cleaning out the ditches in the work shelf. So that's all trees, or you work around large trees?
All trees.
All trees.
Mhm. I mean, there may be instances where something is not really in the way enough for them to get around, but the bulk of it is going to be taken to the grass. That's an expectation that we'll have to set too with the residents, but in order for us to properly maintain that system, there's a lot that has to go.
If you're gonna, that was my reason to ask, is that the residents are aware, because from my private sector work, that usually gets everybody's attention. They want the ditch clean.
When a big
want it to
tree
work.
comes down.
Right.
Yeah, some of those easements are so tight. I mean, the guys who went in some of those sections, especially near Palmetto Ridge, I mean, they were bogged down. There were trees leaning towards houses. I mean, it was like, I was sweating. I don't even live there. So yeah, they will definitely be made aware prior to construction.
So you anticipated and answered the follow-up question.
Oh, okay.
So that's good to know. So then, backing up to the Wolford presentation and the fees, was that just for our information, or did y'all need something from us?
That was just for y'all's information as of right now. I've kind of presented on it that we're working behind the scenes to get a revised rate structure given the complexity and demand of staff time. And so we'll have another presentation after the municipalities have come to an agreement that we would then provide to y'all for approval and voting.
So right now, you're just looking to change the way that you calculate.
Mhm.
That's the crux of, okay. And then in the simplified version, it's the budget you'll have, and then you'll figure out how to convert that to fulfill those dollars based on the impervious surfaces. That's the short version of it.
Yes.
So there'll be a time in the future that we'll see those numbers in the background for that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. To Crystal's point, we have the tiered structure for single-family homes, but the impervious area that a mega mansion on a small lot contributes is much greater than someone with a tiny house and a smaller lot. So how do we make those kinds of things equitable, and how do we want to how do we want to implement, what do we think is the most important portion of the utility fee itself? Why is the fee important? And how do we, fee that?
Okay.
so to speak.
No, so it's a good introduction. Look forward to the more detailed information in the future.
Mhm.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
Steve, piggybacking on his question, and maybe it goes to Crystal, did I just get that in the year 2025's budget, you're going to come up with the dollars you need for the budget and then work backwards to the calculation? Or are you going to create a calculation and then know how much money you're going to raise?
No, no. So.
No what?
No to kind of both of those things. We have a budget that we create every year that we know if we operate at this level, we're going to have to pull money out of our reserves. That typically doesn't happen. And a lot of people think, especially with inflation, that costs are rising, therefore we should just go ahead and increase our costs. That is the exact opposite of what I am trying to accomplish. We can get our yearly work done without having to increase fees. So Wolpert is going to create something for us, and then we're going to compare it and make sure that that's the best way to assess fees. So she may give us a menu item that says, this is how you can raise $10 million. And then I'm going to say, I actually only need 5. So we have to go back to the drawing board so that we're not creating money just to have money. We're not trying to pocket money at the end of every year. We're trying to spend it. We're trying to be fiscally responsible with how we're doing things. Did that make it worse or better or nothing? I don't know. I can't tell. You look, I don't know if that I held up.
I am perplexed. It's almost like we're going to zero-based budgeting, which is great, all right? Our money in our reserve is for a hurricane, a catastrophe that we weren't expecting, that we need to draw from. Hopefully never, but
Yes.
it's there.
But we don't need to continue to add to the reserves.
Correct. We have it, we believe we have enough reserve funds based on past calculations.
Yes, we have we have a $5 million bond that we've never touched because we can accomplish our projects without tapping into that. So in 2026, I'm going to be telling you that I want to get rid of my bond because in 2027, the bond gets called. I'm going to have to ask Ms. Howard and Ms. Brown for permission because, they're a county council. But I don't need to be paying on a loan that I don't even use because I can accomplish my goals.
I understand.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we have enough money, or we're allocating enough money for the needs of the residents of Beaufort County.
Hmm? Well, sure, I don't want to be up short,
Exactly.
Yes, it will all be taken into consideration. Any other questions? Still have half a presentation to go, so I'm out.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Taylor, how are you?
The next item on the agenda, I'm well, thank you. The next item is professional contracts report. We're closing out fiscal year 25 as of June 30th this year, so we're trying to get all of our work finished up and paid out prior to that so that we can issue new task orders and new POs next year, kind of start with a clean slate. Brewer Memorial has been finished for a while, but it is an amazing showcase of stormwater BMPs. So I'd really like to have an open house kind of fun event for the community to come and see what active stormwater BMPs look like. Many people have probably been to this park. It's right beside Whitehall Landing and don't know what's there, don't know why it's there. Some people might think it's beautiful, but doesn't know that it's functional. So we just like to have an event for stormwater for the public to come and learn what it's about. Our new environmental education coordinator will be putting that together. That's Miss Valentina. She's here, and I'll let her introduce herself at a later section. So that's more to come. We only have 2 current task orders open with Wolpert. Like I said, we're trying to close everything out for this fiscal year and issue new TOs and POs for next year so that we're not rolling over money and making finance mad at us. So TO 17 is plan review. As y'all know, we put plan review back on the consultant. Juliana Hunter is currently working for them, so she has a vast knowledge and background of Beaufort County regulations, so she's doing fantastic with that. Task Order 21 is the continuous monitoring station and the operations and maintenance needed for that. And that's right on the bridge before you go into Bluffton. Hopefully we'll be installing a new one of those next year, but this is the account that keeps that one going. Scopes on the county and Wolpert radar. We updated the stormwater management plan during our annual report to DHEC this year, which y'all were provided a copy of, so if you would like to look back at that. And then for our MS4 reports, plan review's been going fantastic. Plans for projects are rolling in weekly. We've been writing some permits, rolling right along. And then monthly inspection summary is up there and in your packet as well. But one thing I wanted to mention is that 2 of our inspectors had the opportunity to go and get in-field training at the IECA conference, Southeast Conference. It's the International Erosion Control Association. So they had an install day where my field crew got to go and see physical installations for sediment and erosion control, so they can know how it's properly supposed to be installed, what to look for, and things like that. So they said it was fantastic to actually get in the classroom and learn, and then get out in the field and see what was going on. So ongoing education in that department. And then our public education report from Miss Ellen is attached in your packet as well. Just double checking to make sure she's not here. If she wanted to speak, I was going to let her speak. And then for the MS4 statewide general permit, the EPA has provided comments to DOT's MS4 permit.
No kidding.
And also, I heard through the grapevine at a SCASA meeting that DHEC is working on the first phase of permits, new permits coming out, so that would be the larger municipalities, Greenville, Richland County, and Columbia. So I've heard through the grapevine that their permits will come out before the phase 2 ones, but we're still waiting on that. And then in case you didn't know, DHEC is splitting come July 1st. So our new governing agency is going to be called the Department of Environmental Services. And we are looking for updates from them as to how to proceed as far as all of our documentation that references DHEC and things like that, because all of our litigation comes from them and requirements come from them. For the staff update, we have hired a new environmental education coordinator. She started on June 3rd. She blew us away in her interview. She just graduated. I'll let her give her a little introduction, but this is Miss Valentina, and her job is going to be split kind of 3 ways. She's going to be about 45% stormwater, 45% solid waste, and then a good mix of public works for the remainder. So she's going to be the person that will hopefully be a liaison between us and the community to not only get out what we're doing to the community, but also to tell us what we can do better. I think there's a lot that we're doing really well that the community doesn't even know about. Like one of the things is our front-facing website that we've talked about and things like that. But she will hopefully be very implemental in helping us get our messages across for prevention measures as well. Because if we can teach the public what not to do and be proactive, then hopefully our jobs will become a little bit easier and we won't have to be so reactive on the back end. But I'll let her introduce herself and just give a couple words.
Hello, I'm Valentina Palacio, as Taylor introduced me. I'm really excited to be joining Beaufort County. I have lived in Bluffton my whole life. I've grown up here, went to school in Charleston. Low Country is my home. And really excited to get illustrated and get to know all the nitty-gritty parts of stormwater management, as well as the rest of stuff with solid waste and recycling, and just spreading awareness and education throughout the whole community, because if you don't know any better, and that helps preventative and be proactive, which is crucial to continuing and moving upward and doing things better. So yeah, I'm happy to be here and looking forward to being part of everything.
Well, a warm welcome, Ms. Palacio.
Thank you so much.
Are there any questions for me? All right, with that, I'm going to let Mr. Bradley Harriet come up and give us an update on our infrastructure maintenance projects.
Good afternoon again. Standing in for Mr. Stephen Carter. He's back with us, but just still recovering, so he's on light duty, but he should be here next meeting. So on the maintenance report, you can see the projects we've done here. That very top one, just one minor correction, that should be Bradley Circle. That's Hilton Head Island, not Bluffton. So that was just a typo there. That Bradley Circle was a real nice project. They had a bunch of issues down, and that's right, I don't know if you know where Bradley Circle is, but it's right on the beach down there. And just a front yard, some of those ditches in there, the ditches were too deep for the yard, so we ended up piping some areas in and put some catch basins in. So it was a nice little project that we done in-house. I won't go through all of them. Luther Warren, just some ditch cleaning. The last project on the list there, that 792 Sea Island Parkway, J.H. Hires we actually contracted that project out. And that's the project that we installed the WAPRO valve in. J.H. Hires installed all the main infrastructure pipe, and did the backfilling. We actually teamed up with them. We hauled all the spoils off. And then we went back after they got the main infrastructure in, and installed the WAPRO valve with the representative there, and it's working really well. I was very impressed. At first, I was a little skeptical on how it would work and how it does, but it's working like it's supposed to. And just to give you an example, when we first put that pipe in, we weren't sure if how the pressures were going to handle it with the head pressure on those pipes. Those joints are actually leaking. I mean, when we had about an 8-foot tide, and the joints were leaking. I mean, you could see the water physically coming through the joints. So that goes to tell you the pressure that the water has. How much head's on that pipe. So we put the WAPRO valve in, and immediately the joint stopped leaking. And you can actually see we got some 57 stone out in front of it. So when it releases, the pressure in the pipe, when it releases, it actually moves the stone. So when it does a good job. I think it's at 13 PSI. Once it builds up 13 PSI, it'll release. But that'd be very good if y'all would come out and see that how it works. It's very innovative for sure. And then just the last couple minor projects down there, just some channel ditching, ditch cleaning. So that's pretty much it for thing. And just one more thing, Miss Joanna, I don't know if y'all met Miss Joanna Zorn. So Miss Joanna does all our auditing. So she always tells us, hey, this is not all what we're doing. So just so everybody knows, this isn't what we do. We just pick a few projects that she's audited. There's probably, 30, 40 more projects that she's audited that are on the books. We just kind of pick out a select few and put them out there. So there's a lot more work that and if y'all would like to see that, we can probably put that in a spreadsheet to see what work's been done. If y'all would like to see exactly what was there. It's pretty easy for her to put that together, I think.
I wouldn't mind that.
Be nice to see.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Howard, for our liaison, and Ms. Brown.
She's teaching me. He's the best teacher. Let's all join us in line.
To address the gentleman that talked about us having committee meetings like down south of the Broad. Oh, that was you, okay. I understand, and correct me, Alice, if I'm wrong, prior to me coming on county council, they used to go south of the Broad, the library, to the rec center, to different places. But it came logistically, it's just impossible to do it. So that's why they have all the meetings here in council, because of the AV system, AV, is that correct? Also, we want to, Mark Feinberg and I talked about us having a meeting out at the Bluffton Rec Center for all Joy people to address issues. And we have Beaufort Jasper Water Company. We have a couple people, I'm going to meet with them Monday. They're going to come to the meeting as well. So I'm asking all of you, what is a good time? Do you want to have it in the summer months? Because a lot of people go away vacation. We can't have it on a Monday or Friday night, but a public meeting for all the All Joy people at the Buckwater Rec Center, right? And
Yes.
that's to address the issue of the sewers, right, Mark?
Well, both,
Right.
stormwater and
The
having
sewer. Yeah,
Beaufort Water,
Beaufort
Jasper.
Water. So I'm asking you, when's a good time?
Sooner is better.
The sooner the better. So like a Tuesday, Wednesday night?
Well, we've been waiting since February. We thought it was gonna be last month. We were
Okay.
last month. So
okay.
if we could do it, right after the 4th, maybe.
Right at the 4th. And our new administrator will be on board as well. So it might be,
Ms. Brown?
For that too? Pardon me?
Is Mr. Lawson going to be available? Because that's a large part of
Well,
his
that's what
business.
I have to arrange with him, a date that he can be there, and I can be there, because he knows Alljoy a lot better than I do, because he's been on county council a lot longer than I have. But I'm gonna set it up with Sarah, a date, a time, and she'll book the rec center, and then she'll put it out publicly. But I have to get with Mark Lawson, which I'll see him on Monday, and we'll set a date. So maybe a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday night would be good. Not a Monday, because our council meetings are Monday and Friday, usually, that's the weekend. So if that, is that,
Yeah, the only thing that we asked, the last public meeting that was held there, we do need proper lighting, because it was said, well, people can just come down, but we've got an older population too, and they can't walk out those bleachers. So the previous, in 2021.
okay,
they
so
were-
you're asking for a mic, is that what you're saying? A mic, like a hand mic?
Yes, so,
Okay.
because what it was, they held it kind of like a town block, or a town, information.
Right.
So that way, there were two mics actually, so I think Matt Roach was one that would walk up a mic to be able to address. That's so much easier, because we couldn't hear at the last meeting, and everybody.
The last meeting, that was at the Buckwater Rec Center? No, I mean, the Bluffton Rec Center? Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Pertaining to the Alljoy landing.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was able to actually be scheduled within a week and a half.
Oh, okay.
So
All
that's
right.
where we've been asking Mr. Lawson
Yeah.
now for.
Well, I will ask him on Monday,
Okay.
at what date is good for him, and then we'll go from that date. I'll get Sarah to book it, and he'll put it out publicly to everybody.
And we just need the mics to be able to hear properly.
Okay, Mike's to hear.
Is that
Is
the
there
best
anything
location?
else?
Is that the best location?
Yes, ma'am.
Because there is the library.
Right.
Also, someone mentioned about the state road, one of the roads are state roads. I understand Tom Davis is moving to Alljoy. He's a state senator. I would think that we could get his help on that. Yeah. So maybe we can talk about that too. Maybe we can get Tom Davis there as well. Since he's gonna be a resident, right? I don't know when, but I understand he's building a home there. Is there anything else that you guys wanna?
I just want to emphasize that the southern part of your county is growing like a weed.
Oh, I know.
That,
Yeah.
everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And we need, whether it be meetings, y'all's meetings, or just attention to us in south of the Broad.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do these town
And
hall
I'm
type
talking
meetings.
about the parsing of equipment to do your work, for stormwater utility to do their work.
Okay.
We have big needs down there.
I know, yeah.
I mean, the whole
I'm
county does.
getting to
I'm
know,
not trying to
understand it.
steal from
Now, I only have a
Royal
slice
or
of Alljoy, that's
Beaufort.
Pine Island, on Alljoy. And Mark has the rest of it, and he's more familiar with it. So we want to get this meeting scheduled, but I will get with him on Monday, because we have a public service meeting and a county council meeting. And then I'll get back to Sarah, and then we'll put it out. Okay? As soon as we can. I think after, in July, I think is a good date, because our new administrator will be on board, and
I think if it was right after the 4th, not
Right.
too far into the middle, because people then do start.
okay, like right after the 4th, like the week after, like, okay. Okay. All right, anything else?
And also
I need to
late
know.
enough in the evening that people who work can get there.
Right, exactly. And like, maybe after, like 5:30, is that the time, you think?
6 is usually.
6, you think? 6?
Just be on the 6th.
Okay, all right. Alice, do you have anything?
Just a few things. As Paula said, the new administrator will be on board 1 July. His name's Michael Moore. He's retired Navy captain, and then he worked in York County for 3.5 years.
Yes.
As
And
a
Park and Recs.
and had Parks and Recs and Public Works under his purview. So he's already talking to some of staff, I think, via Zoom. And the one person I know that's a county council member in York County, she speaks highly of him, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The other news is, I'm real excited about what's gonna happen with Arthur Horn. That was all happened during Hurricane Matthew, so it's exciting that we might be getting some money finally to clean that detention area out. on Rebout Road. And I would say to the people in Alljoy, please be patient. As Jim Clark and I know, Shell Point started 9 years ago when we first started working on it, and a lot of the same issues. But getting the money to do the initial study to identify priorities is a huge step in the right direction, and then, just plodding along, getting what you can for those situations in these older neighborhoods is hard. Part of the sales tax referendum that's going to be on the ballot maybe in the fall, we have one more reading, has some money set aside for resiliency, which can be part of, it's not called stormwater, but it's called resiliency. So resiliency and green belts all benefit stormwater, in my opinion, from what I've studied and what I've read about it. So I'm looking to Katie to see if she agrees with me or not, that resiliency is part of the big picture for that's flooding and preventing flooding. So, it all goes together.
That was in addition, that new addition that we added to the comprehensive plan as well, correct?
And good point. Okay. Yes, so that's all part of it. And the state of South Carolina created a resiliency department now. So they'll have grant money. That's all, unless y'all have questions for us.
No, I want to thank Mrs. Howard and Mrs. Brown for attending and giving us a report and interacting with us to help the residents.
Now, we don't, I'd like to add, it's not to say we could never have like stormwater board meetings south of the Broad. It's up to the administrator, those kind of things, because the broadcasting has to go to be there at those meetings. So it's not that it won't happen, it's just it hasn't happened in the recent past. It's not that it couldn't happen.
It hasn't happened in the 10 years I've been on the stormwater board.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that in the next fiscal year, we'll talk to the administrator and see what we can, see if it can be arranged with no promises. Is there any old business? Any unfinished business? Any new business? Do we have any new business that we need to bring up?
We do. We have an update about Tuxedo Park from our new projects engineer, Mr. Mark Johnson.
Okay. Mr. Johnson.
Hello, everyone. I was just told about this morning, so it'll be brief. I was also informed that y'all are aware of Tuxedo Park and the pond there and the whole situation. In the fiscal year 25 budget, there is $600,000 for cleaning out the pond. And we have gotten the bid from our on-call, J.H. Hires, and it was $431,446.25, which saves the county $168,553.75. So that's a savings from what we put in the budget, and I'm sure we can find some other place to use that.
Oh, yeah.
But first of the fiscal year, I'm told we're going to move forward with that project.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is that considered dredging or not? Or is it
You can
both?
consider it's mucking, dredging, cleaning out. It's
Bradley, thank you.
Just a little bit. So Mark doesn't have quite the background that I have on it because he's new with me and Katie. So on that pond, so when we originally looked at it, we thought the pond was really, really silted in, and it did have a good bit of silt in it, probably about 2 to 3 feet of silt on top. But we also noticed that the pond never really had the capacity that it could have. So that's the reason that we were having some issues over there. I don't think it was ever designed for the capacity that the water was entering, that it needed. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna excavate the pond. It's not a dredging, it's more of an excavation. So we'll drain the pond, they'll get it dried out, and they'll actually just remove the excavation, the silt and the excavation has never been removed. So it'll actually create a much more capacity for us.
Great.
Any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Because of the pricing thresholds, we do have to hold a vote approving the funds being allocated to Tuxedo Park.
Because it's under?
Because it's over a certain threshold, we have to get your recommendation to council, and then we will have to take it to council as well.
I'm confused again. Marine's slowing the uptake here.
Because of the
Even though
price.
we budgeted 600K for it, that was approved in the, or, yeah, 600,000 for that, but now it's coming in at 420 and some change.
Right, we're not approving for the budget, we're approving to expend that amount.
Okay.
We have to ask council, but first we need your recommendation to council to expend that amount.
So, will someone here make a motion for, I'm sorry, sir, 438,000?
$431,446.25.
Wow.
Go for it, go for it.
I'll make a motion that we approve for Tuxedo Park dredging and clean out in the amount of $431,446.25.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Warner seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
With none opposed, the motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anything else in new business? Dare I say, we open it up for public comment again. Yes, sir. Yes, well, sir, would you let the lady behind you speak first? Because
Thank you all for hearing us at the All Joy area. I'm part of that, but I just want to reiterate a couple of things. For example, when Hurricane Irma came through and they paved the roads back there, literally in my yard, it was 4 foot of water. Yes, it came in on a high tide, it came in and went out, but it was 4 foot of water in my yard. So it swept out stuff, a whole bunch of stuff, left us with the problems that they're complaining. It's not y'all's problems with the sewer, but the drainage. It's clogged up a whole lot of stuff and it needs to be cleaned. You know, my whole neighborhood that we're talking about septic is, if it's brown, flush it down. If it's yellow, let it mellow, because you just can't flush your toilets around there. So we've got to get it done, and part of that drainage will help too. And the thing that scares me the most is our river and our oysters. So we've got to get that clean. And also, talking about the studies that they're doing to see what can be done and all on that, there may need to be more done, because there may need to be redoing of how things drain totally, because it's just not working. Thank you.
thank you. Sir?
Thank you. Jim Lawton, 52 Oyster Street again. I have just 2 other points. In regard to the impact fees, or excuse me, when you're either creating a fee structure after the fact, after somebody has built, I presume they would have put a development plan together. But my view is you need to, have impact fees before the horse is out of the gate. They may moderate or change their design if they're going to be charged a lot for impervious surfaces. I think we need a proactive approach to drainage. It's just, you can chop out down a whole forest of trees, and it'll take decades for it to come back. So I think the county needs a real proactive approach. And if somebody wants to develop a piece of property, they need, and we need, to charge them appropriate fees before they even get started. And secondly, I just want to, I fully understand y'all are busy folks, especially staff. But we get very frustrated, and I'm sure you get very frustrated with citizens who are calling or putting stuff up on Beaufort County Connect. But we feel like there's just we get started on a project like Oyster Street, and then we don't hear anything. We get a date that was set, a couple dates that was set, that the county would be back out. We have a water event or a storm, and there's trees down. We don't hear from the county in a proactive way. And we ask that you answer, say, we're busy. We can't get there until this date. But, it's just really frustrating for us when we don't hear from our county councilman or your staff.
Understand.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And,
Please come up to the podium, state your name.
yeah, Karen Dowdy from Oyster Street. And Katie, especially, I have sent email after email after email about the ditches on Oyster Street, and the communication has just stopped. I don't know why our emails don't get answered. Like Jim said, maybe you're busy. Tell us you're busy. Tell us there's going to be another date to get back on the ditches. Tell us what's going on with equipment, because we just don't hear anything. It's just like no communication. And it's extremely frustrating for us, as it is probably for you to keep hearing from us. But until we get an answer, we're going to keep sending emails. So please communicate with us, please. Okay? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Wilson.
And I'll also be brief, and it's the same as what Mrs. Dowdy said as well. We do need, there's just lack of communication. With the group, and there's a good bit of us with Preserve and Protect Alljoy, a lot of times I get contacts and text from the community. So I'll send in an email. I have an unanswered from Brad, from Katie. We send it again, we don't get any answers. But yet the community keeps asking, so we really would appreciate assistance there. The other thing, can we have the application for the for the RIA grant made public? And the reason why I ask is that there was someone that back in the time when we were asking about it being put in, we wanted to know, we've been asked repeatedly about where does it cover, the comprehension. So like normally the Alljoy Preservation District is Burnt Church down to the landing. So folks are asking, is all this in it? Is it comprehensive? What's going on? Now, a previous Beaufort County employee said, hey, $187,000 is not going to cut it at all. I don't know. That's not my field. But I'm wondering, is it wise to cancel this other FEMA grant? Can't it be used in, collaboration somehow? Because it's a shame because it takes money. And then I guess that's it, but we would like to see if we could have that. There was somebody that FOIA'd it, but then they didn't get anything, and that's not been mine. They've taken care of it. So we would like something in writing, please, as to what exactly was stated in the grant when it went in. I know that there's an 18-month of, putting it together, but the community keeps asking. So we would just like to have that be transparent, please. And again, I can't thank you guys enough. I thank you all for being here. I thank you all for overseeing and what you do. Seriously, thank you. Have a great day.
Gentlemen, we have next meeting's agenda on the other side of your, pull it up, can we pull it up, Daphne? I don't see it. It's here somewhere. I didn't get it. Does anybody need to make any changes or additions to the next meeting agenda? If there are not any changes, can I get a motion to approve next meeting's agenda?
Make the motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
The next meeting agenda is approved for August 21st. 2024. With that, I declare the meeting adjourned.